Hi, welcome back to my channel. I cannot believe it is the end of December already. That is absolutely terrifying, because it also means it's the end of 2021, which, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too sad to see 2021 go. It's been a strange year, but I'm still terrified by how fast time has moved, because it's just absolutely flown by so fast. Today I'm just going to be doing my little monthly reading summary for December, just go through what I've read, my thoughts, share my thoughts with you on them. And I apologise in advance for the seagulls out there. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick them up, but they have been going for ages. But I mean, if you can hear them, I have to deal with them, so you have to deal with them too. Sorry. But anyway, moving into the books, I will start off with a poem I actually had to read for history that I am going to count as a book because it was a long poem, and that is Beowulf, and I read the translation by Seamus Heaney, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm definitely not a huge fan of longer poems because I prefer my poems to kind of be short, quite heavily structured, and straight to the point. But I enjoyed it. It's quite hard to talk about because it's very different from any of the periods that I've kind of studied and that I'm familiar with, so I find it really hard to engage with it critically. But as a story, I definitely found it quite enjoyable. I think I'd give it a 3.5 stars out of 5 because, as I say, it's definitely not my thing, but I think Heaney's translation was really nice. From what my history teacher said, I think Heaney, his translation of it is one of the kind of more literary pleasing ones. There's a lot out there. Some are definitely better than others. But if you are going to check it out and you're kind of interested in the medieval period or medieval literature, I would definitely recommend it to you, and Heaney's translation is probably a very good starting point, but obviously explore, see which one works for you. So the next book I read this month was by one of my favourite authors, and that was a play called The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. I'm ashamed to say, being quite a big fan of Oscar Wilde's work, I've never read The Importance of Being Earnest or seen it, and then finally, for one of my literature modules, I got the final little push to read it, and I loved it. It was so funny, it was so witty. It had everything that I love Wilde for. I watched the film adaptation, the older one, and that kind of helped really bring it to life as well, because it's really hard just to read a play, but honestly I think even just reading the text of it, it was still really enjoyable, which I think is a really good testament to how clear it is, because I find sometimes some plays, the way they're written, they come off well on stage, but in terms of, because they're maybe a bit freer in terms of the stage directions, or they're not as kind of precise in their settings, when it comes to just reading them as a straight text, which in all fairness you're not really supposed to do, I suppose, they're meant for staging, but in those cases those plays don't come off as well. But I really found The Importance of Being Earnest really came alive in my head, and that's probably aided by the fact it is a comedy and it's very witty, and that made it a lot easier to engage with, but it's so funny. I would highly recommend it, and if you ever get the chance to watch it, I would highly recommend that too. There's a nice little kind of stab at the class kind of system, and yeah, I would give it a very solid 4 stars. If I could see it live on stage, I think that would probably maybe boost it up a bit as well, but because I think, you know, even watching a film compared to watching it live on stage, it has a very different impact in terms of how things are delivered and how things are set. But based on my first reading of it, I will give it a very solid 4 stars and recommend it to anyone who is interested in comical theatre or Wilde. Okay, so then these were my leisure reads for the month, and these are 2 books that I am ashamed to say I missed out on the hype train for them, because I was an angsty child who thought I was too good for the popular things, and now I'm regretting it because I was absolutely blown away, and that is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. It's just, the world building, everything in this was just so amazingly done. Like the dystopian setting, just the characters, I was absolutely blown away. And I'd seen the film before and I knew everything that was kind of coming, but it still had me on the edge of my seat, you know? Like, even though I kind of knew all the events that were going to kind of unfold and vaguely how they were going to happen, although it was a long time ago I saw it, I was so in it. And like, I'm not a huge fan of first person, but I think that Suzanne Collins wrote in it really, really, really well. And I think that Katniss is a really, really well written protagonist. I think she's the kind of girl who a lot of kind of YA authors try to make their female characters to be, but something just goes wrong somewhere. But for Katniss, just the way the setting is, the way her life is, it makes sense. And there are times where she can maybe, you know, if she was in something else, I would probably not like her, but because of the way everything's set up, you can forgive her for it. You know, like, there might be a time where she says something and I'm like, oh, you know, rolling my eyes, but then you think, well, it's not really her fault, or I would probably be the same in that situation. And yeah, it was nice. She's very strong. She's an amazing protagonist. I really like her. I also quite like Peter too. I know my boyfriend has said that he does not like Peter, so I will see where the rest of the books take me with Peter, but that might just be him. But no, I am absolutely blown away by this, and I will give it a very, very, very solid 5 stars, because I'm sorry I wrote you off in my younger, more foolish days. But also, I'm kind of glad that I did, because I think reading it now as an adult, I appreciate it now for actually being amazing and not just kind of another book that my friends have told me to read because they really like it. And then I look back on it like 5 years later and I'm like, was that as good as I remember it? Maybe not. Okay, so the next book that I read this month was, surprise, surprise, the second book in the Hunger Games trilogy, Catching Fire. I also really enjoyed this one. I think I like the Hunger Games a little bit more. I don't know if that's just because having like read the first one, so because I'm reading them back to back, having read it, I don't know if I just kind of had more expectations of how this was going to be. And they're definitely 2 very different books. It's really nice, actually. I think I really respect her for doing that. And there are some moments in this that are definitely my favourite in the series. I mean, I won't go into any spoilers, but the scene with the dress, although I think most people have probably read or seen the Hunger Games by now, but the scene with the dress, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. As I say, something about this, and I don't think it's the book itself, I think it's more just my preferences, didn't quite, in the beginning, the second half really did, but the first half less so, didn't quite resonate with me in the same way that the first way did, to the same extent. So I will give this a 4.5. I think I've been 4.5. You know, I've been bouncing around, but I think I'm gonna go with the 4.5 for this one. Because I think the first part, although it was very essential to everything that happened, wasn't quite as, it didn't get me in the same way that the first one did, and especially going straight from the first one into the second one, I was a bit like, oh, what's this? You know, but no, absolutely love it. I can't wait to read Mockingjay, and I will be getting on that very, very, very soon. So that is everything for this month. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what books you've read this month and what you thought of them. And also, if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, please below let me know what you thought of them. Obviously, if you're going to discuss any spoilers, please put a little mark it so people don't get sad, because I have had many books spoiled for me and it is very, very, very frustrating. But yeah, that is everything from me for today. In the new year, I am planning to be a little bit more active on this channel. I'm going to try and do 2 videos a month, because I know sometimes I can be a little bit chaotic and my video scheduling is all over the place, but I try my best. But yeah, I will try and be a little bit more on it this year. But yeah, no, that is everything from me for today. Happy New Year, and I will see you in 2022. Bye.